We're down about 320 points. Plus, we've got those new unemployment numbers. They're out. You can see on the screen right now, down 310. In the meantime, 3.8 million first-time job loss claims were filed last week. That's according to the Labor Department. To date, a record 30.3 million Americans have applied for unemployment within a 6-week period due to coronavirus shutdowns. Joining us to discuss, Michael Lee, founder of Michael Lee Strategy, and Mattie Duppler, senior fellow at the National Taxpayers Union and president of Forward Strategies. Guys, good to see you both today. You know, it's unfortunate that we've got a larger number again when we talk 30.3 million Americans with new jobless claims. Mike, you know, were we expecting this number to continue to increase, and when's it going to turn around?
Well, you know, these numbers have been steadily declining week over week. They are absolutely staggering numbers. And I think the answer to your question is, when do we expect these to stop? When the economy starts to open. And I'd say the longer we wait to open this economy, the longer these numbers are going to continue, and the less there is going to be the less there is going to be to open. And so the market's down a little bit today. It was up huge yesterday. I think what's really driving the market is more the Federal Reserve than these unemployment numbers. The number that came out today, which was just absolutely staggering, was consumer spending was down 7.5% month over month. You know, we are headed for depression-like numbers. Losing 30 million jobs in 6 weeks is just something that's never happened in the United States. And maybe the increase of people filing for unemployment will slow down, but it's still going to be staggering numbers until we have a complete reopen.
Yeah, Mattie, I'll bring you in here to the conversation. We are seeing some states beginning to reopen. Is this the right move? Are enough opening fast enough, or are we moving too soon?
Well, I think the federal government made the right choice in creating guidelines that states are expected to follow in order to open their own governments. Now, some states are rejecting those entirely, and we'll have to see if whether or not that is the right move from a public health perspective. But every state obviously is very different. New York is experiencing a very different situation than my home state of Wisconsin. So it makes sense to empower the local officials there to make decisions about what their populations are experiencing. But this is a public health crisis, and we knew that the consequences of the public health crisis were going to be severe economic challenges. What we need is rules and regulations in place that allow the American people to get back into the economy, back online and close to a sense of normalcy with confidence. I mean, remember, the reason that we're seeing really rough GDP numbers, really tough unemployment numbers, is because we have a consumer-driven economy. Services were the first things to close when you can't be out in public together. So in order for Americans to participate in this economy again and to get the economy back online, those consumers need to have confidence in order to do so. They will only have that if they know that they can be safe participating in the economy. And that means for consumers, but also for workers to return to work, they need to know that they're going to be safe in their workplaces, and employers need to give them those safeguards as well. So I think the federal government has done a great job laying out those guidelines. It's up to the states to make the right decisions to bring people back slowly to make sure that they're keeping people safe.
Yeah, we know those workplaces, they will look different once we get back to normal here. Mike, another piece of economic data here, personal income figures are out. I want to show you this screen. Salaries, they dropped 2% in March as workers received less compensation. The government saying if people have less money and are not spending as much, how quickly can the economy bounce back? Are you worried here that once things begin to reopen, people might not have that money to spend?
Emma, the longer we wait to reopen, the less there will be to reopen. Many small businesses have closed their doors and will never open again. Many of these people that have filed for unemployment are likely to be unemployed for years. This devastation that has gone on with our economy is not easily fixable. Somebody made this comparison the other day. It's like when you turn the lights off in a gym at the end of the night, you can switch them right off, but when you turn on the lights the next day, it take a few minutes to fire up. I think this is going to take many years to fire back up to get back to where we were. Again, fortunately, the Federal Reserve has done a great job of stepping in and ensuring that the health crisis, which became an economic crisis, did not become a liquidity crisis, then a solvency crisis. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the only silver lining right here. But again, the longer we wait, the more time this takes, the less there is to reopen, and the more devastating these effects are going to be.
Yeah, and bills, they still keep coming in. You still got to pay them tomorrow, May Day, typically workers across the world plan huge strikes, but tomorrow we're hearing that renters are planning a strike of their own in the wake of the economic shutdown. Joe Biden's going even further. Here's what he wrote on Twitter, quote, with rent due in a few days and folks across the country worried they won't be able to make their payments, it's clear more needs to be done to provide relief. We need to freeze rent immediately for people who've lost their jobs and place a temporary ban on evictions. Mattie, does the government need to step in to help out struggling renters at this time?
Well, the government already has stepped in. You heard Mike talk about the Federal Reserve. The lending facilities that they have set up do exactly this. They allow for liquidity for non-bank entities to access so that they can continue to keep their operations open when we have these kinds of disruptions. I mean, the amount of work the Federal Reserve is doing to try to prevent those kinds of large-scale collapses where rent isn't getting paid is, I think, pretty remarkable at this point. And so, for Joe Biden to say that all rent needs to be suspended is a lack of understanding and appreciation of the dynamics in this economy, particularly as you've seen that economy change over the past several years. Think about all the small renters, who are either renting through an Airbnb or have one property, their old apartment they used to live in when they upgraded. What is Joe Biden proposing for those types of people who rely on that income as well? He's saying that they should just figure out how to make ends meet without it. That's not the appropriate response. The appropriate response is to have some kind of cushion for workers who've lost their jobs, but not to say full scale that all renters don't need to pay rent, because there is liquidity and there is credit out there to try and ease this burden right now without politicians stepping in and, like always, muddling the thing in the middle of the equation here.
All right. Well, we appreciate you guys coming on with us and speaking. Michael Lee, Mattie Duppler, thank you both so much. Take care.